Hello and welcome to the Untitled Anarchist Seagull channel, where we are gonna continue on. Oh, wait a second, that, donation bar needs to be updated. Let me fix that. There. That's more like it, and let's get started with the delightful medieval weirdness of Inkulinati. Looks like it. Camera where I'd like it. And bit red there. Свойства. Okay, that's better. And let's get started on the weirdest, most charming game I have ever encountered. Go for the alewife. Move it. Okay, so I've got the bow-wielding rabbit, the spear-wielding rabbit, and the sword-wielding rabbit. For now, it is a very rabbit-intensive field indeed. So, let's go. Okay. I'll take some gold. Medieval Yoda. A fine choice. An elite tiny versus wild beast encounter. This is a remarkably tactical game. Okay, see these little ink blots here. Stay on there, you get more ink. That ink allows you to draw more of your own wee beasties. Also, the tiny Inkulinati, which is like this character, which is your avatar, is kind of like the king in chess. If it runs out of health, then you just lose, no matter how well you're doing otherwise. Let's get a little bow-wielding rabbit. Distance fighters are always handy. And a spear. And all on those little droplets, so we're gonna get some more ink to draw more creatures with. And let's see. I'll boot this one to get off to a good start. And sleep. See, my ink is back up to 15, so I can draw more of the little fuckers. Let me just see. Yeah, my mic is doing what it's supposed to. It's not done that a few times lately. And there we go. That wasn't very nice, was it? Walk over here because you can't fire an arrow at an adjacent field. Okay, that's one down. Move over here, that's a bigger ink blot. And he's gonna pray for a bit, get some more accuracy and stuff. Sword-wielding rabbit there. Hubert. Oh wow, I'm up to 22 ink. Oh yes, and this is bad news. When this actually fully colors in, anything that goes in there is just automatically dead. Well, that wasn't nice of you. Ah, no valid targets in range. This spear guy is really useless up here. On the other hand, we can do something with the sword, certainly. And boop. Mr. Dukeson. And there we go. Won that one. Take all? Maybe there's a reason not to take all, but as far as I know, taking all is a good thing. Drum-wielding skeleton. Oh, I haven't been able to get a skeleton before. Those are a real pain in the ass to fight. Okay. Get to try out a skeleton. Those cause all sorts of problems. Yeah, I'll take some lost treasure. Sounds good. And let's see. This is Inkulinati. Hey, Erica. Hey, Phoenix. This is a weird little, just charmingly weird little game that I heard about watching Casey Explosion, her stream. Basically, it is a turn-based strategy game where you're fighting in the margins of medieval manuscripts. Stardew Valley, what's that from? Okay. Ah, that works. Okay, now we got a shopkeeper. Ooh, I get another skeleton. Ah, okay. Not familiar with it. Let's see. Infection. Yeah, infection's good. Infection's the gift that keeps giving. As the CDC now recommends, I'm sure. I will pay with gold. Yeah, I get some more living ink. That's good stuff, living ink. Sounds interesting. A farming RPG sounds like how you keep foreclosures at bay. What are you doing? This doesn't make sense. Master, I am here to take the final exam. Yes, I quite like their work. Ah, okay, I don't need to change anything because I've only got 5 and all 5 of them are coming out onto the field. Okay, here we go. Get onto that good, delicious ink. Oh, neat, the skeletons are actually relatively low cost, too. Yeah, I follow their Twitter. Okay. Move that piece of shit over so I can get... And then I can probably... No, can't draw anything more right now. Oh, this disembodied bear head is also a pain in the ass because it explodes. That's its main thing, is it explodes. Oh, fuck off. That wasn't nice. I didn't get to do anything with my skeleton. Okay. Oh, this fucking door's in the way. Okay, we'll get rid of the door. Those things are just a pain in the ass. Well, that was kind of pointless. Okay, gonna boop this one. There are different kinds of booping. Sometimes you can boop them off of the board entirely. Sometimes you boop them and it takes away health. All sorts of great ways to boop. Okay. Oh, my hands are drying. It's lotion. Ah, the skeletons can't handle fire. I didn't realize that. Oh, not again. Asshole. That's a drum. I had wondered what that was. I'd kind of thought that maybe that was... It looked like a basketball. Get some living ink. How's everybody doing tonight? Okay, do I get to move first for a change? Or is he just gonna keep killing my fucking skeletons? Cause that it really isn't nice. I want my skeletons to fuck him up for a change. There we go. But the real target... Stand on this, it gives you health and stuff. Is Yoda over here. He can just keep drawing these little fuckers as much as he wants. They explode. Which is an awkward thing for them to do. Okay, can I boop anything over here? No. No booping. What about infecting? No, can't infect anything either. Yeah, there we go. The reason that skeleton died is these little fire sparks. Once you get hit by those, you just lose 1 health per turn. Yes, they can boop too. I just got booped off of the board. Eventually, this is on early release still. Eventually, they're going to have a multiplayer version of this. Oh, is this to do with the dodgy ass so-called anti-war march that is full of fash? Oh, I get to boop somebody. Yep, there we go. Yeah. Most of the time, I mean, once in a while, it's a valid term, but so much of the time, it's just such complete bullshit. Either there are actual legit reasons why there's a conflict, or the people on one side of the equation aren't leftists to begin with. Like, I've had people be like, you need to stop. Leftists need to stop infighting, and they mean like fighting with Democrats. That's leftist infighting. It's like, no, fuck, it isn't. Yeah. Those things explode. Oh, now I'm in trouble here. Well, first I gotta get away from the apocalyptic hellfire. Okay, I gotta... I can't even get onto one of the ink blots at the moment. This is gonna be a pain in the ass. I'm not sure how I'm gonna win this. Yeah, that's not good. Yeah, exactly. I mean, infighting implies that everybody has ultimately the same basic objectives. And there's some sort of trivial thing that there's a disagreement over. Except usually, the real thing is... The reality is they're having completely different objectives. Yeah, okay, I guess I can afford to boop this guy right now. I'll move him over here just to make sure he doesn't blow up next to me. Oh, but this motherfucker's gonna cause me problems. Yeah. This is what happens when you get your ass kicked. The mistake there, I think... I mean, my problem was that exploding head asshole kept on killing my skeletons. I didn't mean to do that. There we go. You know, maybe with this thing going on in East Palestine, Ohio, which for anyone who saw that and was concerned for my safety, knowing I'm also in Ohio, I'm about as far away from that as you can be and still be in the same state. Maybe what's happening is they see the place name, they say East Palestine, Palestine. Oh, it's Palestine, fuck them. I mean, that's just sort of a reflex action for the US government after all. Yeah, East Palestine, like, I hadn't even heard of it until this shit happened. East Palestine is in northeast Ohio, and I'm in southwest Ohio. There is some likelihood, apparently, that some of the toxic shit that has gotten into the water is going to make it over around this way. Oh, well, that's good, because, I mean, one thing is clear is... they're trying to, the fucking feds and the state government are trying to do as little as possible about this and just totally downplaying it, because that's their only fucking move. No matter how big the disaster, if it's a disaster that does not, like, affect capital primarily, their whole thing is they're gonna just pretend it's nothing and wait for it to leave the news cycle. I mean, it used to be they'd at least have a fake-ass photo op. Now they don't even do that part. Oh. Okay, from here I can attack. Yeah, that's how you gotta do it with these exploding head assholes. Oh, that wasn't nice of you. Hello, Ludlow. How are you getting on? And I just push him over there, give him a little boop. And... can I... oh no, that's no good, because this will blow up too. Ah, shit. That was not good. That is not how that ought to work, but at least I can refresh my health this way. Oh, another of these exploding fuckers. How you doing, Ludlow? there anything I can boop? No, and I can't infect anything either. Okay. There we go. Let's get some more ink. Holy shit, you do get about a bit, Ludlow. Wait, I mean, Florida, New Mexico, you're everywhere. Montana, too? I boop anything in a useful direction. No, it seems I cannot. Oh, there we go. Got my ass kicked again. Yes. We're gonna have another go. Yeah, fuck it. We're gonna rematch. No point in changing the army. Well, no fair. He's got remote detonation, and he can mass wake up his little beasties. I haven't even been offered those options yet. Okay. I'm gonna do a little self boop. Boop that over there. Start out with 2 archers, because the archers last longer and can do more damage from farther away, and that, my problem has entirely been that they get far too close in. Okay, give that a little boop. Oh, the fucking head. Okay, we gotta deal with the head quickly. Because the head causes us no end of problems. Shit. Okay. Whee! And I'm gonna boot myself away from there. In hopes that that's gonna give me some kind of a protection. Wait, that already healed? Okay. Let's get some more booping. Oh, that's actually probably the safest thing I can do. Excellent. There we go. I am rid of the dreaded exploding head. Admittedly, I'm also shot at my fucking skeleton. And I just won. Perfect timing. It is midnight, and I just won the battle. I'm what you grow beyond. That is the true burden of all masters. And with that, we're going to move over into... just chatting. Into the second portion of our show. Well, once I take all this stuff. Daily supper is a good one to have. Remote detonation, very handy. And triangle wielding. And put to menu. Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's like, oh, and at this point, the thing is, this cloud, according to like distribution maps I've seen, Ohio isn't where the airborne part of this is going to hit the hardest. It's heading east. It's heading, like, it's already affecting people in Pennsylvania. It looks like Western New York State is going to be getting some of this. I mean, it does not look good. And with that, we've got all sorts of interesting chud dunking options here. Let me just make sure I've got everything where I need it. Yeah, I mean, except that at this point, Hurricane Katrina is like the high watermark of 21st century U.S. major disaster management. I mean, everything has been downhill since there. And that which is saying something, because Katrina was fucking horrible. So horrible it made Kanye West look good for a minute. Okay. Now, I've got some new people in here. And I've got some old standards. We've got Vosh saying, Thought Slime doesn't care if the left appeals to men or not. I was gonna do like some sort of angry voice, but that's not Vosh. Vosh is monotone voice. Yeah, that's exactly what I've been saying the whole time. We're on our own and we've just gotta realize that and deal with it. And that's the trouble, because people keep expecting the government will do something, there will be some solution from on high. And as long as people are under the impression that might happen, that is an easier thing to do than the hard work of actually organizing. Oh, yes, he is. Now, we've also got Thought Slime, Delusional Angry Communist, show number 40. Is this episode 40 of a show called Thought Slime, Delusional Angry Communist? I don't know. Yeah, it's the Stitch and Adam show, which I've never fucking heard of. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, all we've got is each other, and the good news about that is that's really all we need, because we're the ones that actually make shit work. It's not the fucking executive vice presidents of branding and shit. Okay, we've also got fake woke leftists triggered by anti-war coalition rally. Yes, and of course Caleb Muppet would be standing this. It's full of fash. Capitalism is voluntary. Thought Slime debunked. That also could be good. That's Libertarian Scott. Scott with one T, so maybe we get a neat accent at the very least from that particular chud. Then we've got from Tim Pool. First of all, when I was just looking through to see what kind of shit he's been putting out. Yeah, I know. Mildred, I have to say, I have a few relatively minor disagreements with Mildred. But she's the one person that I can think of, BreadTube-wise, where I really have no trouble recommending their content. Because pretty much any time that Thought Slime does a video on a topic, it's more or less, within a standard deviation of what I would say about it. And I can always feel pretty comfortable recommending it. Okay, we've got Donald Trump vows to bring back guillotines and public executions. Disney slammed for woke Proud Family reboot, crying about white fragility. There's a lot going on in this fucking phrase. Woke Proud Family reboot. The hell's a woke Proud Family reboot? Rockstar says he was fired from a major band for supporting Donald Trump. So, I'm kind of curious about either the fucking guillotine one or possibly Thought Slime Delusional Angry Communist. I'm kind of curious about Thought Slime Delusional Angry Communist. What's... Oh, I do him so often, though. But okay. Let me see. Okay, yeah, why not? Fuck it. Now, we've been following this one to the extent that I can be said to actually be following an issue at all on this channel. Which, it's not a very great extent, let me just be honest there. But, we followed this one from the Genesis when Vosh was explaining that it's the left's fault that there's Andrew Tate. And then Xanderhall jumped in to Vosh's rescue to defend him by claiming that Vosh said the opposite of the things he said. And then a bunch of people pointed out how full of shit both of them were. So here we go. Here comes some bullshit. Here comes this cunt. Da 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 da.
And Markinator with the $5. Have you heard what Thought Slime says here about the left helping men? Oh no.
Okay, it wasn't about the left helping men. The point Thought Slime was making, which just like anyone who is actually serious about this stuff, who is serious about being part of a movement that is about opposing oppression and exploitation was making, is that naturally, when you're opposing oppression and exploitation, there are some people who are on the comfortable end of that, and some of what you're going to say is inherently going to be uncomfortable to them. Meanwhile, Xanderhall's thing was that if you think that guys who become fash are entitled assholes that makes you basically a turf. It's just been a good take machine over in Vosh country.
Now, while I was making
Oh, hold on. Ay.
this video, they all respected his grind. Now, while I was making this video, a question kind of made the rounds on
And this was a good video, highly recommended.
on leftist internet. The question of whether or not the hashtag online left does enough to appeal to hashtag men has become the question du jour. And like, that's a very misguided question.
I mean, it's like saying the left is not, like, doing enough to specifically appeal to white people. Kenkiros, my understanding is that the wind has been blowing this crap east, so Akron may be spared. I don't know, don't quote me on that. Yeah, Mildred's eye makeup game is good. I mean, the thing is, this whole thing, the left needs to appeal more specifically to men. It's like saying the left needs to specifically appeal more to white people. Like, the people in those groups who need to be specifically appealed to are generally not the people you're necessarily going to win over. They're the sort of people that'll, like, end up Vosh's ass.
In my opinion, broadly speaking, the goal of the left should be to spread power to the most people possible. And so it should always be kind of harder to get...
Wait.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean... Wait, okay, so Vosh is already having a problem with this, is he?
Spread power. Before we spread power, we need numbers, right?
Yeah. So the idea is that you get just any old fucking numbers without considering whether they're actually on side with your objectives. The thing is, see, if you've got objectives, it doesn't help to get numbers of people who are not on side with your objectives.
I don't know what that means. Like, we want, like, any political
That's a true statement. He does not know what any of this means.
movement should be supported by the greatest number of people possible.
Well, yes, the greatest number of people possible. And some people are not going to be on side. Some people necessarily are not going to be on side with an objective that is going to actually end a system. Hey, Haku, that's going to end a system, that's trying to end a system that actually is in some ways superficially beneficial to some people who are on the comfortable end of oppression and exploitation. Like, if we start getting capitalists on side, we should be a little bit concerned, because capitalists have absolutely nothing to gain from anything that we're trying to do, because we're trying to take their power away. And yeah, so that's the thing. This idea that you can just get numbers and then worry about objectives later is just such nonsense. And I'm not recording this. I need to get better about this.
People who already have unfair amounts of power on board. That's inconvenient, but it's also kind of unavoidable without diluting the goals we seek to achieve. It is never in the self-interest of the powerful to aid the powerless. That's the reason there are...
This is like a really common lefty sentiment, but I really...
Yeah, well, yes, because it's kind of just true. Who are you more likely, if your objective is to end oppression and exploitation, it's inherently going to be harder to convince people who benefit from those things even a little bit. I mean, it's just fucking common sense, which is why Vosh can't understand
think about it for, like, just a little while. If they genuinely believe this, then, like, why was the most successful civil rights protester in American history at, like, making an active effort to appeal to white people?
Except that's not actually true. Yeah, making an active effort to appeal to white... Okay, who's he even talking about? Okay, does he get to say which one? Oh, well, lots of people say lefty. I've said it plenty of times. I mean, that's not there are terms that you can tell what milieu somebody's in. Lefty is definitely not one of those.
MLK. And like,
He was, wait a second. Let me just remind everybody, MLK was actively trying to appeal to white people. Let me just read you a little something about how that looked. Letter from a Birmingham jail. Yeah. Here we go. I must make 2 honest confessions to you, my Christian and Jewish brothers, Martin Luther King writes. First, I must confess that over the past few years, I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in his stride toward freedom is not the white citizen's counselor or the Ku Klux Klanner, but the white moderate, who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice. I'm going to drop the link to this in chat. Oh god, there's no too much Jimmy Dores starts at like 1 minute as far as I'm concerned. Okay, there's the link to that for anyone not familiar with what I'm reading. The white moderate who constantly says, I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I cannot agree with your methods of direct action, who paternalistically believes he can set the timetable for another man's freedom, who lives by a mythical concept of time, and constantly advises the Negro to wait for a more convenient season. Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection. Yeah, this is him calling white people the fuck out. Calling, like, the white liberals who, said, it's terrible what fucking Bull Connor's doing down there. Something should happen about that. But just not in a way that inconveniences me at all. This is exactly the opposite. Oh, yeah, Thought Slime's eye makeup is good stuff of what he's saying. He did not dilute what he was standing for. Martin Luther King did not. That is eyeshadow, yes. I don't see any liner, but I bet there is some. Martin Luther King did not dilute his program to appeal to white people, which is what Vosh is saying the left should do in order to appeal specifically to men.
Like, why have like like successful changes to status quo and power? The argument would be like, okay, so gay people don't need to appeal to straight people.
Well, yeah.
Trans people not to cis people, black people not to straight, and it's like, well, no.
Well, yeah, because the thing is, if it's our liberation we're fighting for, that has to be clear. Now, it's good to appeal to people who aren't, who are on the right side, on the comfortable side of the oppression you're fighting against, if they're genuinely on side. If they are really there with you and are not going to screw you over and call the cops or whatever. That is an inherently good thing. But the thing about people like that is they don't need you to dilute your demands for liberation in order for them to be okay with it. In fact, if you need to dilute your call for liberation, dilute your objectives in order to win somebody over, that's a pretty clear sign that they are not going to be on side and still aren't on side in the first place.
Obviously, in reality, like, there are 2 ways you can win in a social setting, right? It's you either convince your opposition or you dominate them, like in power, So
well, yeah, I mean, that's true. And the thing is, when your opposition is a ruling class who has every reason not to be convinced, like, you're never going to fucking convince capitalists that not having capitalists skim off the top everywhere is a good idea. Because that's how capitalists make their living, by skimming off the top. You're not going to convince, and if you try to dilute your program in order to appeal to them, all that happens is you aren't going to meet your objectives because you've abandoned them.
So either gay people do Jan 6, storm the Capitol, and introduce like a gay junta where they.
Oh, well, you mean... Okay, first of all, shut up. Shut up, Vosh, because last I checked, what actually kicked off the gay liberation movement was a fucking riot. That is what kicked off, not just in the U.S. either. Gay, like, LGBT people all over the fucking world saw what happened at Stonewall, and it was a rallying cry. So yeah, that wasn't gay people trying to fucking... That wasn't queer people trying to fucking convince the cops that they shouldn't be, like, harassing them so much. That was queer people saying, fuck you, we're not gonna put up with this anymore. Get the fuck out of here or you will chuck fucking petrol bombs at you. Like, I mean, the thing is, the people who were trying to... There were gay groups, very specifically gay and not anything else, groups like the Matakean Society, who tried to appeal to straight people, and they were all very bourgeois and very respectable. Like, the lesbians who were in groups like this actually had rules against wearing fucking trousers because that was too risque. And, the amount of gay liberation that they achieved through trying to be respectable and appeal to straight people by looking like something that they could consider socially acceptable, was, like, a few degrees short of fuck all.
Kill all straight people with some bullshit. Or, like, more realistically and more desirably, you try to convince the people who are in power over you that they need not be, that equality is okay.
What the hell does that mean? What do you mean convince them that they need not be? The thing about them not having that power, it's nice to have that power. It's very comfortable to have that power. Actually, when you are talking about equality, you're talking about people objectively and subjectively being brought down a peg. Because now, they're no better than the people that they've been able to just kind of look down on all their lives. And that is an uncomfortable thing. That's something they have to get used to. And the thing is, you're not going to appeal to them by saying it's not so bad. You're going to appeal to the ones who, some of them will say this is the right thing and just accept it, even if it does involve them having to relearn certain things about how society works. And others are just going to be assholes about it. And if you're trying to, like, convince the people who are going to be assholes about it, if that's your entire strategy, you're never going to get anywhere, because they're not going to be convinced, most of them.
We've done this before, right? It's like an ongoing process, but you do need to bring people over on this,
Are powerful and powerless people in the first place. And men, by and large, are more powerful than women.
Wait, how long does this go on?
No matter how long it goes on, it still feels shorter than 1 minute listening to Vosh. What is down hall? I don't understand, Haka. Yeah, it would be great if you could convince everybody, including all the motherfuckers in the boardroom, to get on board with a revolutionary, anti-capitalist, anarcho-communist, ecological, gay, agenda, queer agenda. But that's not gonna fucking happen. And the thing is, there is going to be a fucking conflict. No, I said Stonewall. Stonewall. In the 1960s, there was this gay pub that a lot of sex workers, a lot of trans women went to. Very much a working class pub. Lots of poor queer people went there. Not the respectable gays at all. So this pub exists, and it was actually owned by the mob. And the cops at the time would just raid it constantly and just harass people for being there. Harass people, arrest them, parade them around and in front of the press and shit. And at some point, the people who frequented that pub just weren't having it. And they had a huge fucking riot and held off the cops for quite a long time. And I mean, it was really what kicked off gay liberation as a thing. As I mean, at the time, I'm calling it gay liberation because that's what they were calling it at the time. We've moved on, it's LGBTQ queer liberation right now, and maybe there'll be another word for it, but at the time it was kind of being talked about in a more restricted sense. But the thing is, that's also what led a lot of, like, leftists to take notice as well. Like, I mean, I think it was after Stonewall that Huey P. Newton of the Black Panthers said, we need to be relating to this gay liberation thing because it's clearly the real deal. And it just kicked it off. It's why practically every Pride parade in some way has some reference to what went down at the Stonewall Inn that day. Yeah, I mean, Vosh doesn't even care who he's popular with.
Also, keep in mind that men being more socially powerful than women does not translate to every guy feeling like he's part of a superior social class than.
It is, God, this guy, it's like, what decade did we bring him in from that he's just missed all of this? Because these were the sorts of objections you would hear in, like, 1996. The point here is not that they explicitly feel superior. It's that they take it for granted that they will be treated as superiors, not even really necessarily reflecting on the fact that that's what's going on. They're just used to it. And it's uncomfortable to see that change. It feels weird. It feels like, actually, like they're being slighted. It's not that they're all, like, explicitly... I mean, this guy has absolutely no idea. He's, like, at this, like, pre-101 level understanding of all these concepts. And it is, frankly, a little bit frightening that he's a guy who a lot of people get their introduction to these concepts from because he doesn't know a damn thing about them.
And women. For instance, if you're a guy and you're in high school, you might actually feel the opposite in a lot of cases. Because we're talking about how people experience these issues.
Well, yes, but the thing is, you might feel the opposite, but that doesn't actually change the fact that you're actually be given all sorts of advantages over your female comrades. That's just not, I mean, that's just an objective fact. And yes, it's true, people who are in this sort of position, because it's the more comfortable position and they're just used to it, it's just how things have always been as far as they're concerned, yeah, they're less likely to question it. Yeah, they're less likely to be aware of it. And, there is sort of a divide between those who are willing to say, wait a second, actually, now you tell me about that, that really is fucked up. And other people who don't want anything to change because it's quite comfortable. And the last thing they want is to have any consciousness that this social structure that's quite comfortable to them is actually just totally unjust to all sorts of other people, and so they say, no, that's not fucking happening, that's just bullshit, not listening, gonna go watch fucking JonTron or some shit and read play the anti-Semitic wizard game.
Not how they actually manifest.
There are, of course, exceptions. There are intersections of other forms of oppression that can make individual people's stories different than the general trend. But, like, men have most of the money, authority, and do most of the murdering and assaulting, often to not men. In virtually any circumstance where a man has a shitty time in life, if that man were a woman, they would be having a worse time. Because they'd have all...
This is such... I mean, it's like... Yes, all of this, it's just such basic stuff.
All of their regular problems, plus some new woman problems.
This is not necessarily true. Because a lot of guys who are having problems have problems in interpersonal situations where men are not necessarily privileged.
Yeah. By which he means he does not actually have any kind of introspection about any of this.
Men aren't really privileged in their ability to make friends or find relationships.
That's not what the term... Jesus Christ, he doesn't even know what privileged means. When we're talking about privilege, and I'm guessing Haku could probably use a definition of this as well, since Haku's new to these things, and and I want to make sure that people are following along who haven't heard this. When we talk about privilege, What we're talking about is people's social position. It is an imprecise term, and there are lots of misuses of it. But the idea is privilege basically means that you are being treated better than people who are different from you in a way that should not influence and not cause them to be treated worse. Like privilege, for example, like we talk about white privilege, and again, this is kind of liberals take this off in a direction that is totally useless, but the concept, I think, is salvageable despite that. Liberals fuck up everything to a certain extent. I mean, privilege means, like, if you're white, that you can walk around late at night in your own fucking neighborhood, dressed like a complete schlub, and you're not likely to get the shit kicked out of you by cops. Whereas if you were black, if you were Latinx, you probably would have some problems with that. Privilege has to do with how society treats you. He's using privilege to mean better at. Like, men aren't as good at social interactions. But of course the thing is, men aren't expected to be as good at social interactions to a great extent. Men don't get as much shit for being less graceful in social interactions. On the other hand, girls and women are getting that shit all the time. It's all being looked through with a tooth comb. And that's an example of the sort of, like, privilege we're talking about. It's about how the society treats you. It's not about being good at something, which is how he's using it.
Relationships. If their problem is that they're like super poor, then that can't necessarily be fixed by being a woman.
He didn't say it can't necessarily be fixed by, but what Thought Slime fucking said, you just played it, is that actually if you're poor and a man, you would not be, your situation would not be being improved by being poor and a woman. Because then you'd have to worry about all sorts of other shit, including the fact that you'd probably be making considerably less money for the same fucking work. And you'd have to worry, in most cases, about the extreme expense of fucking menstrual products, which is something that broke men do not have to worry about. So yeah, that is an example. He didn't say that being a woman would make the experience more bearable. His point was exactly the opposite. Jesus Christ, are you even listening, Vosh?
Though women are more likely to be able to not go homeless because there are more women's shelters.
First of all, that's not how homelessness works. If you're in a shelter, you're fucking homeless. Female versus male homelessness. I have a feeling this is complete bullshit. Yeah, I mean, the thing is that a lot of figures on homelessness do exactly what Vosh does. They only count people who are literally out on the street, even though they don't have a place to live. They're just staying at somebody's place or something like that. Or they're in a shelter. But they're still fucking homeless. They just don't get counted.
And women are considered less threatening, so possible acquaintances might be more willing to let them sleep over at a place, but...
Yeah, and because they're also, because women are considered less threatening, we're also more likely to be threatened. So, the people who might let us stay there might be expecting some shit in return that they might not take no for an answer on.
That's kind of an edge case thing. Obviously, women also have their own specific issues, but,
Oh, well, gee, thank you for that concession.
It's complicated,
Fuck you! It's complicated. If that's the best you could do, you shouldn't be explaining this shit to people. You should be getting somebody to explain it to you and then fucking listening.
Yeah, it's complicated. In the West today, male-female power dynamics are really messy.
That's
a very convenient thing for him to say.
Pointing out that this is unfair is always going to ruffle some feathers. It's going to make some men very mad because...
Yeah, like Vosh here. Vosh is very mad about this.
because they like having all of the stuff they don't deserve. They don't care.
Okay, so right off the bat, this
Yeah, here we go. Here we go. This is Vosh demonstrating Thought Slime's point.
right here is unironic, like anti-progressive propaganda,
No, it isn't.
masquerading as like honest, straightforward political analysis. We're not talking about taking anything from guys.
Yeah, we fucking are. We are. Just like we're talking about taking something from capitalists. Like, I mean, the thing is, if you tell somebody like Vosh, who is just the perfect example of this, who is just used to walking into a room and using that fucking sedate-ass voice and saying complete nonsense, but he says it in a way that sounds authoritative, like he knows what he's talking about, and he doesn't get called on that. He clearly has never really been called on that, in his formative years, because he just doesn't act like it. Whereas a woman who's as full of shit as him, in the same way, would be getting all kinds of shit. Probably wouldn't be able to get a word in edgewise. I mean, so yeah. What we're talking about is a situation where somebody like Vosh would actually have to where somebody like Vosh would actually have to stop and listen, and when they're full of shit, somebody might say something and they wouldn't be able to just steamroll them and everybody would accept it. So yeah, I think Vosh would clearly feel that something was taken away from him. The fact that it's something he shouldn't have in the first place, because there's no reason he should be treated better than like women and like queer people and people of color, etc., 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 who have much better politics, are much more knowledgeable and less full of shit than he is. That's a thing he doesn't deserve, and he shouldn't have it. So yeah, it is taking something away. King Kiddo says, I'm getting some serious class collaborationist vibes from this. Nobody has to lose, everyone can win. Yeah. Vosh without class collaborationism there's not much left of him. Because the idea that there is an actual struggle, and that there are inherently, lines that are drawn within this social structure, that some people simply are not going to be on side, because it is not in their interest to be on our side, just as it's not in our interest to be on theirs, because there are fucking diametrically opposed interests in these situations. That just doesn't occur to him. Because his whole idea is, well, if you can't get the people who are more powerful, who are richer, who are more reactionary on board, then you should just sort of change things so that you can get them on board.
You don't have to take anything from them. They're not going to lose anything.
Well, yeah, they are. Like, you would lose the ability to just kind of talk like this without anyone calling you out, and think that this means that you're somehow erudite.
This is like the argument they make. It's like, well, did you know by elevating black people, you're actually hurting white people? Well,
and the thing is, the point is, yes, on a subjective level, it is going to cause discomfort for the people who have been on the comfortable end of the oppression, because there's certain things they get to take for granted that they can't take for granted anymore. And some of those things are things that some of those things are things everybody should take for granted. And some of those things are things nobody should be allowed to take for granted, like just being able to, like, talk over somebody else's reality and have that be accepted over somebody else who knows about their fucking reality telling you what's going on in it. Sort of like Vosh does. So yeah, I mean, acknowledging that, see, the thing is, yeah, in the end, you aren't losing anything that anyone should be too attached to, but the things people are attached to the benefits of being on the comfortable side of oppression and exploitation. And as far as they're concerned, yeah, it is taking something away from them. And as far as they're concerned, they don't care whether it's deserved or not, or maybe they convince themselves it is deserved, like Vosh does. Vosh thinks that he has this platform because he has something worth saying. Something worth listening to. He doesn't think for a second that actually it's completely ridiculous that he should be considered some sort of voice that people listen to.
No, it's not a zero-sum game. I don't know why why will lefties say, dude, it's not a zero-sum game when they're
Well, sometimes it is a zero-sum game, Vosh.
talking like broadly, but then privately they're like, yeah, it is a zero-sum game. I don't.
What, you think this video is private? You think he's whispering in your ear here, Vosh? This is public. And yeah, the point is, in some things it is a zero-sum game. Capitalism is a zero-sum game. What goes to capitalists doesn't go to workers. What workers get is taken from capitalists. There is no, like, fucking magic sampu that is, you know, some porn of plenty that is going to allow capitalists to have all the shit they've nicked over the centuries now, and give workers that same stuff. Because there's only so much stuff on the planet. There are zero-sum games. There is actual fucking conflict. He's such a fucking lib.
Why? You don't need to say that.
Well, I mean, why should we lie to people, though? I mean, some things are zero-sum games.
Like, all I'm talking about is, like, appealing to men and, like, taking their issues seriously and uplifting them on those...
Like, what issues? What issues are we talking about? Because the last time, when he first got into this, he explained that we should just be more sexist. He still hasn't come up with one of these issues yet.
Not in ways that give them more social power over women, but rather on, like, insecurities and concerns and life advice stuff they have, which usually serves as an entry point to right-wing politics.
They like that. They want it to stay that way because it suits them. Because of the stuff. So those guys, they're never going to be...
Also, your average 13-year-old boy is not...
Well, he keeps on making it about fucking 13-year-old boys. I mean, he just keeps on moving it over there. I mean, he has a thing with 13-year-old boys. I don't know what the deal is.
If you ask your average 13-year-old boy, like, hey, how's being a guy going for you? They're not going to respond, well, I love all the additional social power it gives me. That is...
Yes, yes, and actually, if you ask a 30-year-old guy, a lot of them, the same question, they, too, will be just as fucking oblivious. Because unless somebody makes you aware of these things, it's very easy not to be aware of them. It takes extra effort to notice it when you're on the notice that that you're on the comfortable end of a system of power and oppression.
It's just not, this is not how, it's like some people seem to think that, like, the average member of a demographic group has a perspective of that group, which is equal to, like, a Wikipedia summary of a Sociology 101 course on...
God, I wish he would read a Wikipedia summary of a Sociology 101 course. It would be a general improvement to his level of knowledge on these subjects. Because he seems to think that when we talk about power and oppression and exploitation, that every single person in that interaction, in that social relation, is fully aware of what's going on and the exact nature of their role in it. Whereas the reality is, a lot of the time, they're fucking oblivious because they can be oblivious. A lot of the time, they just have absolutely no... They, just take it for granted that, yeah, of course they're being treated better, and they don't even notice that other people are being treated worse. And will often be in serious, like, vehement denial if somebody points it out to them. I mean, nobody is actually saying that everybody is, like, 100% conscious of all this.
That group, like, how do you like being black? Well, as a black person, I do not enjoy my lower average income and household wealth. I also do not enjoy the...
except here's the thing, and this is how... See, I went when I was in a junior school, when I was in high school, most of the people I went to school with were black. And I can tell you, the level of awareness of racism and shit like that of like 13-year-old black kids, in my experience, is way above what you find in white kids of the same age group. And as you go up the age cohorts, it stays the same, because the thing is that when you're on the uncomfortable end of racism, you have to be aware of that shit, because it's a matter of life and death. So yeah, I mean, I learned a lot just listening to fucking conversations in those schools, just about how the fucking world works. God, he just doesn't know anything.
Mistreatment by the criminal justice system that I receive.
Well, yeah, except the thing is, 13-year-old black kids are actually getting sent to fucking jail for acting up in class at school. There's a whole school to prison pipeline. Fucking school cops beat the shit out of, tween black kids a lot. Cops harass black kids that age. Yeah, they do. I mean, yeah, there's going to be some awareness of that, because apart from everything else, black parents give their kids the fucking talk about the fact that actually the state employs people who are allowed to just murder them for no good reason, and they have to be constantly aware of what's going on in order to try to survive those fucking encounters. I mean, so no, there is not some equal obliviousness. There is, because on one side you have people who don't have to worry about any of those shit. You have people who don't have to worry about walking down the street and just getting the shit kicked out of them by cops for no good reason. And you have people in the same age group, from the same area, same city, let's say, who do have to worry about those things. So yeah, there's going to be an awareness gap. It's not the same. Jesus Christ, this guy...
it's just, that's not how people especially young people,
be on our side. We shouldn't want them to be on our side, because they're just going to fuck everything up, right? Like,
what?
Yeah, well, yeah, he's saying reactionaries, we shouldn't want reactionaries on our side, like Vosh, for example, because they're going to fuck everything up, because that is what they do.
What? You don't want guys on your side?
That's not what he fucking said. He specifically said guys who are in denial about, the benefits of being on the comfortable end of misogyny, and who refuse to acknowledge that there's anything wrong with that, and who actually would like to maintain the status quo, at least as concerns misogyny, and the benefits they derive from it. I mean, that those people... God, he didn't specifically say men, fuck you, huh?
If the guy wants to maintain the privileges they have, can't we all have those privileges?
No, that's not how it fucking works. The whole point of the concept of privilege is that it's something that's denied other people. If we all have that, and a lot of the time, I mean, the one kernel of, reasonableness in what he just said there is that a lot of the time, what we talk about as privilege is something that is just a basic human right that just happens to be denied to a huge number of people. But a lot of the privilege, but a lot of the things, you literally could not give them to everybody. Everybody cannot, everybody cannot have, say, the privilege of making something like, 20-30% more money for the same work as their counterpart of a different gender, for example. That doesn't work. That's... Jesus.
Or I guess in that case it wouldn't be a privilege, it would just be sort of like equal treatment. It's like every lefty, isn't it? Genuinely and fully, it's like every fucking lefty who's like this online.
See, it's interesting that he just completely does not... I mean, it's telling and honest that he is clearly just referring to leftists in the third person, because he's not one.
Not that I'm surprised that they would be like this.
Our side is meant to...
Yeah, you shouldn't be surprised that we are like this, because we're against oppression and exploitation. That's our thing. We're against those things. We want to end those things. And that means, necessarily, we're going to ally primarily with people who would benefit from ending those things, and secondarily, with people who would not necessarily benefit from ending those things, or not from ending all of those things anyway, but who can see that it's the right thing to do. Whereas Vosh has absolutely, it's just such unprincipled bullshit.
Stop those guys. It's like saying we should be trying to appeal to billionaires to fund the left. That might be convenient, but...
Yes. Oh my god, yes. A single billionaire distributing money through left...
Oh my god. I use that as a fucking straw man. I use that as a fucking joke, and here he is, he's gonna say, yes, we should try to appeal to billionaires.
Media channels could single-handedly undo an enormous amount of influence. One of the...
Yeah, I know. It could undo every single good thing about leftist media, because guess what? The kind of, if you want to see the kind of fucking channel that billionaires would lavish money on, the kind of leftist channel billionaires would lavish money on, it's guys like fucking Vosh. It's people like Xanderhall. It's just total libs who don't know a damn thing about what they're talking about, have seriously reactionary politics in a lot of respects. They're not going to be spending money to promote people who want to take their profits away from them.
The reasons why there are so many, like, out of nowhere right-wing grifters who suddenly become prominent is because there's an enormous amount of
Yes, exactly, because here's the thing. Billionaires know which side their bread is buttered on. So yes, they're going to lavish their money on fucking libs and on far-right propagandists, and they're not, because those people want to preserve the power of capitalists. They're not going to give money to people who are explaining why we need to get rid of capitalists as an entire class. Because that does not suit them. That is not in their interest. Jesus Christ, Vosh, do you know anything?
Dude, it's like they're allergic to winning, man. Yeah, Engels was...
What the hell is your definition of winning, dude? What exactly are we winning if we manage to tie ourselves in enough knots that fucking Jeff Bezos decides to give us money? If fucking Bill Gates or Warren Buffett wanted to promote my channel, wanted to hand me money to make me a big fucking media star or something like that, I would feel like I must have done something wrong to make them think I was on side with them, and that I needed to be much clearer in my messaging in future. Because there's no way that people like that are going to be giving people money in order to fight them. That is just sort of a basic thing. This is...
was fucking wealthy. It's like...
Well, yes, because the right wing defends the status quo and rich people benefit from the status quo. How the fuck is this news to you, Vosh?
It's like, it may seem useful to be able to win and have power, but actually that's not progressive enough.
Well, yeah, because the thing is, having power in the abstract is not what being a fucking leftist, being a revolutionary anti-capitalist is about. There's certain things you want to achieve. Yeah, you could, if you manage to suck up to enough rich motherfuckers, have a serious chance of becoming a senator or the president or something like that, but you'd have to abandon everything worthwhile you stand for. An example of that, incidentally, is if you look at 1980s Bernie Sanders versus Bernie Sanders since he's been in the Senate, since he made his deal with the Democrats. He actually had pretty good views on, like, anti-imperialism and things like that in the 80s. And then he made his deal, he went to the Kennedy School of Assassins over at Harvard, and he came out, and since then he has just been like just totally establishment pro-imperialist bullshit. He doesn't God, it's...
Yeah, he owned like large mills, like multiple factories. His family was wealthy. That's not progressive enough. Yeah, he owned like large mills, like multiple factories. His family was wealthy. They were like...
Yeah, but the thing about it is, I mean, he must be talking about Engels because, yeah, Marx came from money, but he was broke his entire life. But here's the thing about Engels: he did not see the communism did not win over Engels by saying, "Yeah, actually, we'll let rich people keep their mills and things." Engels decided to become a communist because he thought it was the right thing to do. And that's the important distinction. Because, yeah, there is such a thing as a class trader. But, I mean, now we're expecting Vosh to have some concept of class interest, and he clearly does not.
Textile mills.
To get them on board, we have to fundamentally change our goals. So if we want to achieve...
No, we don't.
What? You don't think we have to fundamentally change our goals to get billionaires on board? Our goals are that there shouldn't be billionaires. Our goals are that the fucking means of production, all the stuff that we need to make the shit that we need, and all the natural resources under the ground, and all the fucking housing, and all the stuff belongs to all of us, and is not being operated for the profit of a handful of ghouls. Yeah, you think that you're gonna win over a bunch of billionaires to that agenda, Vosh? Tell us how, please.
All you have to, for a billionaire, you could just say, hey, these are our goals. We think this is morally right. We're appealing to your good senses here. Can
Yeah, except they don't have those good senses.
you please give us money?
Why the hell would they give us... God, does he think about these things before saying them? Why the hell are billionaires going to give us money in order to get rid of them?
If the billionaire was then like, well, actually, I'll only give you money if you change your goals to not be as hard on the wealthy, then we say no.
Well, of course they're going to say that, you schmuck. But more likely what they do, with the way this works, see, they don't, like, Steven Crowder, for example, was not like some sort of leftist until the right-wing money machine found him. He was exactly what he is now. The selection happens. People don't it's not like some billionaire is going to just hand you money and you totally give an about face. Sometimes that happens. You see that sometimes, but that's not usually the way it works. The way it works is that people with money become aware of people who are doing propaganda that is in their interests. And those people who are true believers, or at the very least convincing enough liars, are good at it, so they say, okay, we'll give them money. They select the people who aren't going to harm their interest in their analysis.
We're not talking about changing the disposition of the left broadly.
But what do you think happens when money from the class that we're trying to put an end to the existence of starts flowing in? What do you think happens when we're all fucking dependent on fucking grants from the Jeff Bezos Foundation for tax evasion and other shit? You think that money is going to be there if you're like supporting unionizing efforts and strikes at Amazon plants?
Yeah, Dima, I get that. It's just like in the context of the argument provided here, it doesn't make any sense.
Oh god, somebody in the fucking chat goes, the Nazis appealed to billionaires, why are we less smart than them? Well, maybe ask yourself why it is that the Nazis were appealing to billionaires. And why maybe billionaires weren't interested in working with people who want to expropriate them. God, I mean, this is loner box level. This is like Tim Pool level ignorance. Democracy Now's coverage started changing when it started getting Ford Foundation funding. I don't know about that. I mean, I don't know. This is the first I've heard of them getting Ford Foundation funding, and I also don't know when that would have been, so I have no basis for comparison there.
You would want like anything you could get,
Those goals, we have to be okay with alienating certain groups of people. Just pausing here because I don't think I did a great job of clarifying this.
You didn't.
Point, I am not saying that dudes are unreachable. I'm saying that there are a portion of dudes who are unreachable. They're a small minority.
See, that was clear to begin with, but
There are a portion of all groups that are unreachable because that's just how people are. But you can.
oh god, no. Yeah, but that's not the point he's making, you dickhead. The point is that you have people who are on the comfortable end of systems of exploitation and oppression, and some of them might be open to a moral appeal. Some of them might realize that the system that we're living in is fucked up, even though it does benefit them personally. And there's some that never will. Like Vosh, for example, is an example of one who never will be reachable.
Can still appeal to guys' interests, guys representing, half the population of the planet. You can still reach out to them and.
Yeah, except the interests that you would be appealing to as a leftist are not interests specifically held by guys. The guys' interests that leftists would be appealing to are also the interests of working class women as well. This is like, just like, yeah, a leftist anti-capitalist program will appeal to some white guys. But it's not. It is almost, if it specifically appeals to white guys in ways that do not appeal to everyone else, then you gotta be a little bit careful, because that sounds like something might be wrong.
Try to, indicate to them that it's in their interest to move leftward without just doing, preachy gatekeeping bullshit.
My point is that because most dudes are reachable and can be made to understand that actually sexism is bad.
Okay, so let's find ways of convincing them of that point.
Nobody's convinced you of that point yet, Vosh.
Right?
With that, I like how he's acting like he's somehow slowly pulling this out of Thought's line, like this is some big concession. This is the entire point of the video. That when you are making arguments against sexism, some men are simply gonna tune out completely, and the rest you can talk to, and the rest will be interested in hearing about it.
So okay, right. They can be reached. So how do you reach them? Well, then you have to think of a good way of presenting that information to them, right?
Wow, why did nobody think of, finding a good way of presenting information before? This is why Vosh has the platform he has. Because he comes up with these fucking innovative ideas. Find a good way to present information.
Maybe you should take subjects that they have a lot of emotional investment in, something they dedicate a lot of time to, something they think about a lot, something that weighs heavily on their mind, and think, how can I offer them a solution? How can I help them? How can I appeal to this interest?
So why exactly is this going to be our fucking... Why don't you fucking do that, Vosh? Not that I'm not really interested in Vosh, being more of a fucking suck for politically clueless young men than he already is. But, yeah.
Here.
We therefore don't need to mollycoddle those who are too sensitive to hear that. Because chances are, if you don't like hearing that sexism is bad, if hearing that makes you not want to be cool or chill, then probably you weren't going to be useful as an ally.
Okay, this right here, this right there, that right there is the thing that shoots us in the foot every
shoots you in the foot, maybe.
Single time. If you just go up to some kid and you're like, hey, sexism is bad, you should stop being sexist, and
who exactly is proposing to do that?
Then they're not convinced by your epic argument.
This is just, he's pulling this out of his ass. He's taking it, he has to, sort of brush Xander Hall aside, because Xander Hall lives in his ass, and just pulling this out of his ass, because literally nobody's proposing this.
And then you're like, oh, I guess he wasn't going to move over anyway. Then you do actually
I'll be wrapping up pretty soon as well. Thank you for joining us, Ken Kiddos. I will be back tomorrow at 11:30 p.m. I actually really should wrap up. And let me just say, before you go, I am really excited about this Kollontai crowdfunded translation project. I've been working on doing, I fully funded the introduction, and I'm more than halfway through translating the introduction, which I expect now will be up on my Patreon page as a public post on Sunday. Right now, I am raising funds to cover the costs of Chapter 1. The total I'm trying to raise there is $1,629.40. I'm 42.71% of the way through that. And if anyone wants to contribute to that and help make the first full-length English translation of Kollonthai's Social Basis of the Female Question possible, you can use the tip page there. And all contributions are very much appreciated. And if you go to my Patreon, you'll find more information about this project and stuff that if you can't contribute, you shouldn't feel pressured to. But I would appreciate any publicity that somebody can give to this very much, because I'm really excited about this. This really looks like it's happening, and I just need to keep the momentum going as I'm working on it. Have a good night. Thank you to everybody who's shown up. Thank you for becoming, you're becoming a regular, King Kiddles, and I really appreciate that. I love new regulars.